Mr. President, the Bosniaks endured a terrible conflict. Do you not think that real justice has not been served? And why has it not? Have the politicians let the Bosniaks down?
Well, the question you pose is, I think, a question that is posed by many in the world today. What kind of justice is this? Not only Bosniaks. What kind of justice, what kind of world is this? What kind of justice? Especially those who day and night talk about justice and dialogue and tolerance and civilization and values and the rule of law. Are there double standards there? Justice for one part of humanity, but not for the other part of humanity. Well, this can create, and it creates already, a frustration. And we may all pay the price for that. Because injustice is bearable for some time, but it explodes once. And I always, when people ask me here, why did they attack us? Why did they kill us? And so on. What happened there? Is it because we are Muslims? I was always reluctant to say that, because not Muslims only died here. A lot of other people, patriots who love Bosnia and Herzegovina, fought for Bosnia, died for Bosnia. But truly, the answer came the other day in form of a book by a journalist, Taylor Branch, journalist, historian, Pulitzer winner, and so on, who taped President Clinton, and President Clinton was telling him, I think the title of it is Clinton Tapes, Wrestling History. It was shocking. He said that he was fighting the arms embargo. He wanted to lift the arms embargo because we did not have the arms, and we suffered from the arms embargo. And on the other side was the full-fledged armed force against us. So the embargo imposed by the Security Council applied to those with tanks and planes and everything, and on those who did not have even rifles. So the question is, what kind of justice is this? Well, this is the justice of the Security Council. This is the truth. And they say so now. That was a big mistake. Now, President Clinton wanted to lift this embargo. The Europeans wouldn't. And he says that they had publicly justified this by saying that, well, there are enough arms, so it would only, enhance the whole thing and so on. Privately, some of them said the truth. The truth was that, like former President Mitterrand of France said openly, that we were unnatural. Bosnia is unnatural because there are Muslims in Bosnia. At least he was honest. The others said that it's painful but realistic restoration of Christian Europe. I quote, painful but realistic restoration of Christian Europe. Is Christian Europe restored by killing people? That's not Christianity. That's politics, you see. So, and remember, this is not what I say. I always knew this. But here it comes now in the form of a book. These are Clinton tapes. And President Clinton was the most powerful man of that time. So they told him what they really thought. Not what they publicly say, of course, is different. And he also says that they kept the peacekeepers here in order to have a shield against any American intervention, for example. Yeah. So the truth is, they sided with Milosevic. They were not indifferent and neutral. They sided with Milosevic. They gave him enough time to do this, whatever he wanted to do. And they intervened in the end. And it was American-led intervention. This is the truth. Yes. You know, I'm sorry to say this. I'm a part of Europe here, but this is what happened with Europe. They know that now. They read books about it, but it wouldn't, of course, it can't save, it will not bring back the dead. But what we can do is not to repeat the mistake. And the mistake is being repeated right now. Because they ask us now to capitulate and sign Milosevic's project. Milosevic is dead and his project is alive. So sign it. No. The answer is no. We did not fight only for our lives. We fought for our dignity too.
Do you think you've been outstepped by the Serbs and their influence on the international arena?
Well, I just told you what they, whose side they were on during the war.
But after the war, is there still sides?
That tells you, that tells you everything, that we are not exactly loved here. I believe I'm asking for our rights. I'm asking for the minimum, you see. And we are civilized people, by the way. We are civilized people. And we showed our civility during the war. We never returned in kind. We did not burn the churches here, the Jewish synagogues and so on, because we don't believe in that. You see, we believe that people can live together. We are not savages here. So, and hopefully what we experienced between 92 and 95 did not kill this spirit that we have. And that spirit actually kept us alive. We fought a very difficult war here against the overwhelming power. They will not erase us, whoever wanted to erase us. Those who think like Milosevic and Karadzic and all these guys, and Mladic, who is still in Serbia, is not in The Hague, he will be captured. We will win, and they will lose. That's for sure. They thought that they could erase us from here. You know, they, in order to erase our identity, they destroyed more than 1,000 mosques. And guess what happened? We built now more than they destroyed. There is something in the characterization of these people, it's defiance. You know, if you want to raise me, then I'll grow taller.
The amount of rapes, you know, around about 25,000. I mean, what was their mentality? This was not a war.
That was a project. The rape was a project, like destroying mosques, destroying the psyche. What actually happened is a mutant that I do not have a name for. What happened you're talking about the mentality. Created by, unfortunately, the Orthodox Serbian Church too. By the media also, by the politicians. And generally, they created, especially through the media, they created an atmosphere within which everything was possible. Now, they know they are defeated militarily, they are defeated morally, and they are defeated politically. They don't want to accept this. They are in total denial. They had some gains here in Bosnia, but all the wars are generally lost. They don't want to accept this. And it's, you know, it's normal. The awakening time is, I believe, that the best thing for them is to apologize. This will help them take this burden off their back and help us explain to the families of victims and so on what really happened. So it's a win-win situation. why should their young generations be stained by this, by people who killed people only because they had a refrigerator or a TV set? They took it to Serbia to sell, you know. Or they raped women, they raped young girls, and so they killed people just like that. But some of them are just now getting the truth of what happened. The media was there, the total propaganda, the total blackout, and so on. And it's the easiest thing in the world to believe is that the other side is the guilty side. Some fundamentalists, some Muslims in Bosnia and Herzegovina, terrible people, and so they should be killed, and so on. Now they are awakening, and they ask us, why don't you forget and forgive? I said, we are not being asked to forgive. I do not hear that. When I hear that publicly from your parliament, then I'll ask the families, would they forgive? They will not forget ever, but they can forgive if they want. Then we'll ask them. If that happens, then you have opened the path for the future for your new generations and our generations too. So, in this very bad situation, that's the best that we can do.
The term of genocide refers to Srebrenica only. Again, it's a failure, surely, because almost the whole of Bosnia was a genocide.
Well, that's
it was genocide to such a degree, I can't believe that, once again, that it's only been allocated to one area.
Well, of course, it's reduced to Srebrenica because Serbia should not be touched. The International Court of Justice ruled that Serbia was guilty, but guilty of not doing anything to stop it. They all know that Serbia is guilty. The Serbian regime, not the Serbian regime, Milosevic's regime is guilty of designing the whole thing, executing it, and so on. But they tried to shield Serbia, okay, to protect it. And that's why Srebrenica only. But what shall we do now with Karadzic? Karadzic is charged with 10 more Srebrenicas. 10 more. So it's across Bosnia. And of course they don't want to hear this. How come? But it was a total genocide, actually. Everywhere, you see. So we all have to come to terms with this. The victims have to come to terms with this. And the victims have to come to terms with one thing. And that is that the cycle, when the cycle is full, then the victim becomes the guilty one. In the end, you are a problem because you are a witness. 92 and 95, I was seeing here in this building, around this building, dead bodies. It's difficult to remain normal, you see. But even then, I did not have one nationalistic sentence. I always tell them, bring me this, show me. What's wrong with my rhetoric? Well, the genocide should be not mentioned so much. So genocide can be committed, but should not be talked about. This is a travesty. And this is disgrace for all of us, and sweeping it under the carpet, it will come up one day again.
The other day I saw a new mass grave. New mass grave. Now, why can it not be suggested to the Serbs to come out and say, okay, just identify, you've done what you've done, as a part of reconciliation, tell us where you've buried people.
No,
I asked people, the head of ICP or whatever, said they're not helping us. We have to find these graves ourselves. I mean,
tell you the truth, we have to pay for
these
that.
moves not being made to us?
Of course they are made.
And refusal?
No refusal, because everybody says we don't know. But sometimes people pay to know that. We have to pay. And that's how we discover our mass graves. And these mass graves are another witness. And that's why they are a problem. So they are asking us to forget about everything, divide even the property, give the property to the entities made on blood, of course. The state property should be given away. They cannot wait for us to dig up the mass graves, you see. And I think this is probably the lowest point of the international community in Bosnia today here, the lowest point, when it comes to any context of any values whatsoever, any principles which they promote daily, any principles, any values whatsoever. How can you ask us to accept the violation of that minimal, unjust agreement? How can you ask us while we still have the mass graves there, you see? It looks like they've given to us too much in the Dayton Agreement, or some of them probably think that too many of us survived.
On reflection, what are your thoughts about the role of foreign mujahideen who came here to help? How, and why is it that they're now victimized, demonized, and rejected, yet they're settled here? They came here, gave their lives.
Not all of them, first of all, not all of them are victimized, not all of them are demonized. Some of them came with good intentions, like in all wars. You have foreigners. I don't know why nobody is speaking about the Russian or Greek volunteers on the Serb side. You see, a famous Russian poet came to the hills of Sarajevo, Limonov, in order to shoot Sarajevo. So why, that's not a problem? Greek parliament discussed the case of Greek flag being hoisted here by people who came here to fight. So the Mujahideen, some of them, I don't know what they were called at that time. In any case, just like in any war, they came here, some of them with good intentions, some of them with not so good intentions, which is normal. And not all of them are victimized. It's not true. You see? Some of them, yes.
But a lot of them feel pressure. I met quite a few of them, and they say that
well, I feel
we
pressure.
can't, yeah. But
listen, I feel pressure. I'm the president. I feel pressure.
Do you think there's going to, is there a clash of Islamic schools of thought? Because I know you're very well versed between Hanafi, Wahhabi, Sufi. Do you think there's a clash going on here?
It's more clash of praxis, if you like. Yes, these are the Sunni Muslims of Hanafi mazhab, and that's what we are used to, and that's how we survived for centuries. It's like a flower in the desert. It takes the color of the desert. You see, to some people that come here to Bosnia, it seems strange. So it's actually geographies, if not cultures, apart. So they don't recognize what they think is, when they come here, is a Muslim. They don't recognize that, seeing us here. But in the same time, those Muslims that they do not recognize as Muslims fought for their identity, out of belief, out of defiance, but they fought for it. When the time came, and they were very tested, you see, by this. But some people do not see it this way. Some people think that they can impose here very rigid forms of religion and so on. It will not succeed here. A normal man, if he is Hanafi, okay, if he is Wahhabi, okay, if he is not trying to impose something on society, extremist things. An extremist does not work here within this society. The rigid thing does not work here. This is the nature of this society. We have our own way. If you, for example, come and have your own way, you go and pray or something, it's up to you.
But if somebody comes here and say, well, look, you're praying wrong, you should be praying this way, I mean, that's not really imposing, is it? I mean,
no,
just like the Ottomans came here.
It is imposing. That means that the Muslims have done it wrong here for 500 years.
Well, not necessarily
and this was said by one imam at the khutbah. He said, well, we did it for nothing for 500 years. Are you telling us this, that we were wrong 500 years?
Well, maybe...
in the end, It's what's in your heart, for God's sake.
Yeah.
It's not the robotics or whatever. It's what's in your heart. And what is in the heart of these people, they showed it. They were tested, as I said.
Do you honestly feel that you are a part of a European ideology in the present and future?
Yes.
Do you think, and why are they so reluctant to accept you, though?
Well, that's their problem.
Yeah, but
If
it
you're
becomes
looking
your
for-
problem. I mean,
No,
because
no, it's not ours, it's their problem. Fine, if we are not accepted, fine, we'll survive. But their problem is, if they do not see that this is the real Europe, the Europe they are talking about, the Europe they want to create, is here. For hundreds of years, the idea of Europe of all peoples, Europe of tolerance, Europe of exchanging ideas, because I sincerely believe in multiculturalism. Why? Because I think the culture is closed in itself.
But come on, President.
Okay.
No, you can't.
Don't come on me. Don't come on me.
No.
I believe this. I've always believed that. I said this during the most difficult of years. Cultures in the spiral of time do enrich each other because they have mirror.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you
Okay.
from that perspective. But I say that the reality, as it's been tested for the last few years, is not true, is it? Because you're getting, Islamophobia. I live in the West. I live in Europe. I live in England. Every day, I am being demonized. I am being made this small by the system, by the political system. My rights are being abused. I'm not being seen as equal. I was brought up in England. I had to trade in my identity. I had to trade in my name. I had to trade in my culture, my religion, just to get on. That is not the Europe that you talk about. You may be more multicultural. You may be more tolerant, but it's not the multicultural Europe that you are kind of projecting.
Well, there is another Europe too. I mean, let's be honest about this too. Yes, that Europe is being tested severely. And especially these days, it turned too far right, to my liking. Funny parties are popping up there. The least we can say about them is that they're xenophobic, the least. And so on. But there are also people in Europe who understand. And they are ready to go forward. Europe has a, crisis, identity crisis. And then don't forget, people are being taught for hundreds of years that Muslims are this and that, and we know all about this. You see, but we will change this. We proved here that we are civil and civilized. We proved, not only Muslims, but others here in Bosnia and Herzegovina, that we are the ones that should not be taught civility and civilization at all.
But will you hold Republika Srpska to Bosnia?
Will I what?
Will that always remain a part of Bosnia?
Well, it will remain a part, not like this, of course. It will change, everything changes. Of course, I don't like Bosnia and Herzegovina of today, as it is today, because it's built on blood and genocide. But we did sign an agreement, and I intend to respect this agreement. The problem is those who signed it are not respecting it. That's my problem. You see, I accept that, fine, let's do this. This happened, what happened, happened.
Let's move on.
Let's move on for the new generations who should not suffer from this. We should not transmit our traumas to them. But there must be truth established. It's very important.
You've put up with a lot, and it's a personal thing. I think that, and
Well,
you think you can put up with more to see things through on a
I don't know.
positive?
I don't know, because you don't know what you can put up with. The war and difficult situations create heat. You're really tested, and the masks fall. So you thought this man would be a hero in the war. He comes out not such a hero, but another one that doesn't look like a hero is a hero. See? So you never know. And the real heroes were always here, unexpected to me. I never expected that from them, but they turned out to be heroes. So you never know. What will be your reaction? What will be the reaction of others around you?
Good. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.